Hello friends, I am excited about today's video. I make because I am the most calm and centered when I am using my hands and making something, and it's not so serious, thank God. There will be more fabric, there will always be more fabric. There will always be more ideas, there will be more of everything. Just having some feelings and ideas, and sewing because it's such a quiet time gives me a lot of time to think. I have just a real big cabinet full of fabrics, and I have an incredible secondhand fabric store near me, and I've had to refrain from stopping there. They've even been having like really incredible sales because I just have too much fabric, and because I've just been so precious with my fabric. Something is shifting there for me. I'm getting to be a little less precious and using these beautiful fabrics. That there will be more fabric, there will always be more fabric. There will always be more ideas, there will be more of everything. I've noticed when I start to think that way with an abundance mindset, the more comes almost overwhelmingly. So we're not saving fabrics anymore, and we're just sewing pants and seeing how they turn out, and we're not even getting precious about the clothes. Even I don't really need these pants. I sew because it makes me happy. I make because I am the most calm and centered when I am using my hands and making something. I'm gonna make more clothes. These pants will someday find their journey onto someone else, or they'll get cut up and reused into something else, or very, 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 very far down the line, they'll decompose back into the earth, just like we all will. And it's not so serious, thank God. I had this idea for a while to modify my Ponderosa Pants sewing pattern to just make them a pair of pull-on elastic waist pants. And if you watched back when I launched this pattern and I talk about this fabric,
oh gosh, you guys, I mean, I have enough here for probably 2 more pairs, and maybe I need a black pair. I don't know.
So this black crinkle fabric, it's not a bottom weight, and so I don't know how long that these pants will last. I'm really hoping they don't split at the back crotch seam. I did sew them in a size larger, which we'll talk about, than my normal size so that I could get them over my hips, and because they're crinkly fabric, I knew it would shrink up. I'm just very happy with the result. Very, very happy with these crinkly black pants. Okay, so for this tutorial, it's important that you take a look at the table for this video. You may need to size up if you're sewing these pull-on Ponderosa pants because your full hip measurement needs to get through the waist opening. And I've created a table here in that blog post that has the sizes listed with the waist openings in inches and in centimeters. So for example, for my pair of pants, I have a hip measurement between 38.5 and 39.5 depending on the day. And so I decided to size up from my normal size of 6 to a size 8 so that I knew that I could get these over my hips. And I also was sewing the pants in a crinkle fabric, which I knew would shrink up when I washed it. That was also another reason why I decided to size up. So take a look at this chart before you choose your size. It's likely that you'll need to size up into the next size to make these pants pull-on pants. Okay, so the only thing we need to change on our Ponderosa Pants pattern pieces to make them pleatless is to modify the front waistband, and that's really easy to do. So we just need to take the front leg pattern piece and the pocket bag pattern piece, and we're just going to lay them matching our notches here and here so that they are just setting on one on top of the other, lined up. And I'll just use a pattern weight to leave them there. And then I'm going to mark my seam allowance, which is 1/2 inch all the way across the top here. Okay, so I've got my seam allowance marked across the top. This is going to be 1/2 of the front width of my waistband, but this has seam allowance in it. So what I do is I just take my measuring tape and measure along that line, and I am measuring at exactly 10.5 inches across from the center front to the side of the pants. So to find the total dimensions for my front waistband, I'm going to take that 10.5 inches, which was half. It was one of the front legs, and I just need to multiply that by 2 inches, so that equals 21 inches. And then I want to subtract seam allowance at the center front, and that's going to be 1/2 inch on each pattern piece, so a total of 1 inches, which means my total length of my waistband will be 20 inches long, and the width, if you measure your other waistband pattern pieces, they're 5 inches wide. So my waistband will be 20 inches long by 5 inches wide. One thing I do want to mention here is that I am ironing this crinkle fabric before I'm sewing it. I don't want to sew any puckers or anything into the fabric, so I'm trying to iron out those crinkles as best as I can, knowing that when I wash these are going to be pants that I don't iron, and that they'll get nice and spongy and crinkly after they go through the dryer. Okay, I'm cutting out my front pattern leg, and one thing to note here, the pleat markings, you don't need to mark those or notch those because we're not sewing pleats. Everything else you should mark the notches on, but those 3 you can omit. Okay, so something to mention about our waistband pattern pieces. This is the back waistband that is drafted as is. No changes made to that. This is my front waistband. This is a pattern piece I just added some length to. Now, neither of these pattern pieces are interfaced for this modification, and the notches that are on the ends of the pattern pieces don't matter anymore. The only notches that are really important are these center back notches. And then on the front waistband, we will add notches for the center front. And to do that, I will just fold the waistband in half and snip some little notches at the folds. So we have our front waistband and our back waistband. The back waistband is a little larger, and they both have the center markings. Okay, so with this pleatless modification, we don't need to do anything different from side to side to account for the way the pants open, because they won't open. We will just slide them on. There's not going to be any opening at the left pocket. so I have my two back leg pattern pieces sewn together here and my two front legs with my pockets sewn on. And again, the pockets are sewn in so that there's no opening on one side like there is in the normal pattern. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to match my inseams and my outseams and pin and sew and finish those. And then we're just going to pop the waistband on and throw some elastic in it. And I think it'll be really cute. Okay, so my pants are sewn together. They just don't have a waistband or the elastic yet. And I'm so excited. I think it's gonna be really good. So, okay, so I am ready to sew my waistband together. I've got my two waistband pattern pieces here. The longer one is the back waistband and the shorter one is the front. We're just gonna sew our two short edges together with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, press them open, and then I'm gonna use the iron to press this edge down to here with wrong sides together. Okay, so I'm ready to attach my waistband to my pants. I'm just going to match my side seams and those center notches and sew this on. Okay, so I want to start at the center back, which I know it's very hard to see. That seam is right here. And I'm going to try to leave about a 3 or 4 inch opening right there. So I'm going to start on this side of the center back, travel all the way around, and stop about right here so that I can insert my elastic. Okay, so I'm seeing where I started right here. Here's my center back seam. So I'm just going to sew a few more inches and stop there. Now I'm going to wait to serge this edge until I insert my elastic and get a good fit, and then I'll close up the gap with my sewing machine and finish the raw edge with my serger. Okay, so I have a piece of elastic here. This is cut to my waist measurement. Actually just wrapped it around my waist where I kind of want these to land, and then added about 1 inch for the overlap. So I'm going to feed this through the channel of the pants. I like to pin the end of my elastic to the waistband so that I don't lose it inside as I'm feeding the other end through. Okay, I'm almost there. Okay, so I've got my elastic pulled through. I'm just going to pull this to make sure nothing is twisted inside. That looks good to me. And then I'm going to unpin the other end that I secured, and I'm going to overlap those two ends of the elastic here. By about 1 inch and pin them together. And I'm just going to go to the sewing machine and sew a box with an X inside it to secure that. now I'm just gonna pull my elastic through, and I'm going to seal up this little hole at the center back. So making sure I don't sew over the elastic. I'm just gonna make sure it's nice and tucked into the waistband channel. And seal up that hole. Okay, so now that my waistband is all sewn into my pants, I'm just gonna do what the pattern instructs for the back waistband, where I'm gonna top stitch all the way around it, 2 lines of top stitching to get that kind of professional, ready to wear look. And I think I'll start at the center back, and I'm just going to increase my stitch length to like 3.5. And this first line of top stitching is at about a 1/2 inch or 5/8 of an inch. It's not exact. But as you do this, you definitely want to stretch the waistband so that you don't get any puckers in there. Okay, and then I'm going to do the next line at about 1.25 inches, I think. Okay, so that is all done. I just need to trim my threads. You can see somewhat what it looks like. Now the last thing I'm just going to do is hem the pants. Hi, sugar. I love you. Okay, so I'm gonna show you what the pants look like before I wash them and after, so you can see how the crinkle cotton reacts to a wash and dry cycle. Okay, so now I'm gonna show you the black ones right out of the dryer. These will be great, just wash and wear pants, no fuss, no ironing. And I like black. I've kind of always been on the fence about black, but these are nice because they're not going to get stained. Here they are. Very, very happy with these crinkly black pants. And then the second pair I sewed was just kind of a lovely oatmeal colored. And this fabric is linen, but this is also a very crinkly fabric. These crinkle up a lot more than the cotton. A little thicker, a little more heavyweight, so I think hopefully these seams will hold longer. We'll find out. Okay, so now I'm going to show you those same pants after a wash and dry cycle. You can just see like how they are on my thighs and my calves. Like they're just not the look I'm going for. So I'm going to do a little iron and we'll see what they look like. But isn't this waistband cute? I did a little gingham contrast. I just thought they'd be a little drab on their own. And I like that. Okay, so I ironed the pants. They're better. I kind of like this little neutral cream set. So, okay, and just a little cred for this very cute knit top. This is the Rota Sleeveless top. It's a knitting pattern by Irene Lynn, I believe her name is. I'll link it in the description box below. It's a super, super fast knit. First time I've ever done cables. And I loved the process. It kept me very interested. And I'm wearing it a lot these days. So I have some thoughts I want to share with you. Let's go sit down. Let's talk. This little journey the last week. You know, you never know when you set out on a new project what it's going to mean. So right now, creativity's flowing. The fabric's flowing. It's okay. It's okay to make things that make you happy. There's some balance between being very precious and intentional, measured, thoughtful about your life and what you do, and then also putting energy into just doing it without knowing what's going to happen, being open to what you are meant to learn through it. This new sewing pattern of mine has been such a joy to work with because it's evolving. If you're so inclined, I would love to hear your thoughts on what it feels like in this season of life for you to just do the thing. Just use the fabric. Just take the hike, pick up the saw, whatever it is. What are you leaning into that before you really hesitated to do for whatever reason? And it doesn't matter why, but what are you finding yourself pulled to? I would just love to know what is happening for you all. Thank you so much for watching. If you sew a pair of Ponderosa pants, I would love if you could leave a review on my website with a photo. Those are always really fun to see how people's sewn items turn out. I'll leave a link below to the pattern so that you can pick up a copy if you haven't yet, and look at all of my other sewing patterns there. Happy sewing. I'll see you soon.